Hey, everybody. Good night. Well, welcome. And welcome to run number 13 with Battalion Chief Joe Grossi Jr. Battalion Chief Joe Grossi Jr. is a Hoboken native, born and raised. Chief Grossi entered the fire department in 2008. He served on several companies before making his way to Rescue Company Number 1. In 2014, Joe was promoted to captain and again served several companies before going home to Rescue Company Number 1. Altogether, Joe had served over a dozen years calling Clinton Street home. Joe was again promoted in 2021, this time becoming battalion chief, being assigned to C Group as tour commander. Chief Grossi finds great satisfaction in mastering his craft, whether it's fire attack, technical rescue, ventilation, or search. He is always on top of his game. Joe also enjoys sharing his knowledge, often with posting informative tips and tricks on his social media accounts at Joe.Grossi Jr. on Instagram. Without further ado, I'm going to bring to the show Chief Joe Grossi Jr. Hey, brother, what's going on? How are you tonight?
What's up, Nick? How you doing, buddy?
All right, just living the dream.
Nice. Same here, man.
All right,
Thank you for that intro. Very nice.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking part. I'm getting a huge response of excitement for you tonight. Probably more than any other any run that's come up.
Wow.
So
I check the mental status of your fan base then, because I don't know, man.
I think you actually brought more fans, or the asylum closed down. I don't know.
It could be that. It's probably the latter. That's funny.
All right, so tell us where it all started for little Joey.
Well, yeah, I grew up, still live in Hoboken, born and raised. I guess that's kind of one of the things that I feel like in a lot of the people I met along the way, yourself, a lot of guys I met in the fire service, is that I had, I guess, somewhat of a disadvantage. I didn't have the ability to be like a volunteer as a young kid, which in hindsight, I would have loved it. I would have loved to be like a younger teenager and be exposed to the fire department and the fire service. So yeah, I mean, my extent of involvement or exposure to the fire service would be like my dad's best friend, his best man. He was on my job, in Hoboken. He was a captain. He was in rescue for many years, and that was kind of like the influence I had to explore that. But I mean, I wasn't like one of the kids running down the street chasing fire engines. I am now, as a grown man. But yeah, if I was in a different environment, I probably would have. But I mean, I always had respect for the firemen. And, I always thought it was pretty cool. I just didn't have, I guess, any interest in it as a kid. I like every other red-blooded kid, I guess, wanted to grow up and play for the Yankees, and that was going to pan out. And, it just reality kicks in, and that 1 in a billion chance is not you. But, that was my big passion, man. I was a huge athlete, not a huge athlete in terms of success, but I was into everything. I played every sport. We were we were inner city kids. We would go to the park up the block, and if it was snow on the ground, we'd shovel out the basketball courts to play. And my buddy was a big hockey nut, and we'd get like the roller hockey going, and we'd always be out. We'd be playing.
Now you grew up with a kid I went to high school with, Joe and Nick Badamo.
Yes, that's right.
Who their dad was on your job.
Oddly enough, I mean, we grew up together, but oddly enough, then we ended up working together years later. Funny how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we went to preschool together.
That's awesome.
Joe and I, Joe, if I'm not mistaken, is Nick might be with Con Ed, or no, Joe might be with Con Ed. Nick is with something else, but
Nick just doing left right for themselves. Con Ed, and he's going to JCP&L, I think.
Oh wow, okay.
But Nicky was a junior in Freehold Fire Department when I was still
in Freehold. I was going to say they moved when we were, however old we were. I would say probably, oh my God, we were probably young teenagers when they moved. But we lived in the same building, and their dad Alex was on the job, and he got on in the '90s, and he was unbelievable.
He was a rescue guy, right?
Yes, from day one, he was unbelievable. And you know, I knew him obviously as a parent, and you know, like strict guy, and he was like, he's kind of like a military guy. I'm blanking out right now if he was in the military, but he ran a tight ship, and he was, you know, he was always like, you know, very friendly but serious, and he was awesome. And then years later, ironically enough, when I got promoted, I got assigned to the same house, and it was unbelievable. He was just like
That's awesome.
wealth of knowledge. He just was like the true senior man. You know, he wanted to just stay at the rank of firefighter, and you know, he was just aces with anything technical. I mean, he was aces as a fireman too, but just like anything that you threw at him, whether it was you know, he was a handyman on the side. He dealt with trucks. He was just like a rigger. I mean, anything, torches, struts. He was just anything that was handy. He would either Jimmy rig it to make it work, or he would just know how to do it. He was so. I mean, me as a young officer going there, I mean, I picked up so much from him.
He was a home run.
Unbelievable. But yeah, it's
that.
good people, man. Great people.
So you get out of high school, you take the test and get right on, or
so yeah, I graduated high school pretty young. I guess at 17, I graduated. You know, I wasn't really it's funny. My dad used to tease me years ago. He was like, you know, if you put in half the time as you did after you became a fireman, and like education and learning and taking tests and
you'd
all
be
that
an
stuff, going to
astronaut.
classes, he goes, you would have went to Harvard. And it's true. It's like, you know, I guess I probably, like others, I have like probably an undiagnosed ADD, ADHD, to where if it interests me, I could put in, you know, all the time in the day, 25 hours a day. But
100%.
if it's something that doesn't pique my interest or it doesn't garner my attention, I get
fall
lost
asleep.
and I fade, and, you know, it's just whatever. But, you know, it was funny that, you know, I went to Hoboken High, graduated at 17. And what I was getting at ultimately, I went to college for a year. I went up to Sussex Community. And, you know, in hindsight, I really like it. At a 17 and a half, 18-year-old kid, I didn't like it. I teased my friends that I saw more animals than I saw people. But it was really cool. You know, in hindsight, it was really cool. It was a bunch of Hudson County kids, all athletes. We went up there to play baseball. And I had another guy, my buddy Jay. He was from Hoboken. We went up together. And then a couple guys from Jersey City, a couple guys from North Bergen, but just a bunch of Hudson County kids. And we roomed in like this 3-bedroom apartment, couple blocks from the campus, and it was cool. You know, at the time I didn't like it. You know, I wasn't driving at that point, and you know, I was kind of just cooped up. I'm like, I'm a city kid. You know, you take me a half hour away, and I'm okay, but in small doses. You know.
Yeah.
So you know, I toughed it out, and I don't like to be labeled as a quitter, but I did quit. I quit school. You know, it wasn't for me. And you know, I did my year, and I got homesick, and I'm like, listen, this isn't for me. It's not working out. I didn't know what I wanted to do, what I wanted to study. I was just kind of doing like, I think I majored in criminal justice, and you know, I didn't want to be a cop or anything, but it was just kind of, I guess, what I elected to do. Yeah, I guess, you know, whatever. And you know, I came back. I ended up getting hooked up with a job in the city for a tax firm, kind of like an entry thing. I was 18 at the time, or 19 at the time. And I had some college, so I was able to get to this tax firm in Lower Manhattan, and it was cool. You know, I was kind of doing the uppy thing for a little while, and shortly into that, I guess I started getting the drips and drabs. So it turns out I just missed the test before I was old enough to take the one I took. I ended up taking the test on my 21st birthday. I just missed the one before that. I think it was like 17 and change. And, you know, in Jersey, you got to be 18 to be able to put your application in. And, you know, you always think like, oh man, if I could have gotten on earlier, if I could have did that. I think I got on very young to begin with. I got on at, you know, just around 22. You know, it's one of those things to where I'd like to think I became a man on the job. You know, I mean, I'm not, you know, legally you're able to drink and all that stuff. But I was a kid, you know, I think I was mature for my age. I always would consider myself, but I mess around as much as anybody.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, in hindsight, getting on 18, 19 years old, that's got to be really, really, you're really young at that point. I mean, you know, I mean, I got guys who now, you know, work for me, and they're 35-year-old men getting on the job. They're established. They have responsibilities that a 20-year-old wouldn't have to have. You know, who had a job as a manager, who's been a tradesman for so many years. Just, you know, your life experiences pile up at that point as a 30-plus-year-old man that you're not going to have as a teenager or a 20-year-old kid. You know, just out of circumstance, out of necessity. But I always said that. I was like, man, imagine if I got on at 18. A couple of guys did. One guy was a battalion. He was unbelievable. He got on at 18. He did 30-something years. And, he said, he goes, the growing pains of being a kid to a man. And,
Yeah.
one of my first chief, he was, I think, 18, 19. And he was, same thing. Guys were unbelievable. But I don't know if that's quite the age you want to be. Unless you have a really solid house you're going to, which nobody knows where they're going to land.
Yeah.
It's kind of, if you get.
Well, and not even that. At 18, you look at the generation difference, and I'm not getting into the whole millennial boomers thing, but
Yeah.
our parents and the generation before them, 18, they were graduating high school, they were going to work at the local mill, they were getting married, they were starting their life. It's a totally different environment.
Times are different
than now. Exactly.
Yep.
Like 18-year-old now, there's so
Um,
many options out there that you don't even know what you want to do with the rest of your life. Hell, I know people
my
our
God,
age that don't know what they want to do with the rest of their life.
I was just gonna say, man, it makes you really feel like cliche how things go full circle. Like I feel like you're getting old. You see some of these kids getting on the job, and they're 20, 21, 25, and I look at them and I said, like, I'm like an old man. I'm like, holy shit, man! Technically, I could be old enough to be this kid's father. And
Yeah.
it's like it's scary, but it's like, listen, join the club. To everybody else that grows up and gets older, it's how it goes. But yeah, you're right. To your point, man, the lifestyles and the responsibilities and times are just different, So so I ended up taking the test. I take the test on my 21st birthday. I end up getting hired within a year.
Oh wow!
And just we ended up getting hired on a FEMA grant, on a safer grant rather, with FEMA, and one of 10, and we just we kind of like very quickly just, how did I ever think about doing anything else? You very quickly get bit by the bug, and then that's where a buddy of mine I got on with, a couple of guys I got on with, I think if I'm not mistaken, were volunteers. And they was just, oh yeah, I've been doing this since I'm 15, hanging around the house, doing this. I'm like, holy shit, man, that's cool. You got almost 5-10 years doing this at this point. And then, I didn't know anything about the fire department, like I said, other than what my dad's best friend, he was really the only exposure that I knew about the fire department. I knew people who were firemen. I recognized guys from the neighborhood, things like that. And, but in terms of I didn't know the difference between a truck and an engine type, until I got to the academy. Like, no joke. I'm not too proud to admit that. I knew one had a ladder on it and all that stuff, but like I said, I wasn't.
They were all fire trucks.
That's all.
They were all fire engines, fire trucks.
Yep. But I wasn't the kid running down the street, chasing the fire engines when they ran by. Now I do. Everybody that works with me teases me. I always have a radio on me, or I'm buffing something out. But yeah, I would have liked that. I would have liked that exposure maybe as like a 15, 16-year-old kid. Not necessarily that would have changed things, but you don't know. But got on, and very, very quickly just got bit by the bug, man. I was just like, everything that I had into sports very quickly translated into the job. And I was just like, I was like, holy shit, man, this thing's unbelievable. And it just, kind of consumed me. And like what I was getting at, what I was saying before, and what I was ultimately getting at, like, if it could secure my attention, I'm all in, at all times. I don't half-ass things. Absolutely. I don't 50-50 things. I don't I'm not wishy-washy. And, I very quickly bought into it, and I wanted to obsess with it, just learn as much as I can about it, annoy all the guys around me, all the senior guys. And, what could I read? What could I I wouldn't use the word study, because it wasn't like one of those things where
studying the job.
I'll get into that in a minute. Studying the job, but just trying to learn, because again, I didn't have a background in it, and it's all new to me. And not only was it new, it was fascinating. I was just obsessed with it. And I still am.
Now when you got in, when you got in, was it your own thirst for the knowledge and growing passion, or was like there's somebody, a mentor or something, that kind of said, hey kid, check this out, or check this, and or was it just fell in love with it?
I would say a combination of both, but I wasn't the one that had to be tapped on the shoulder, hey, listen, let me show you something. I was kind of annoying those guys, and I think because they saw the interest I took in it, that made them want to pass that much more and take a liking to me.
Oh, absolutely.
And I put silly things up online, and one of them that I think I put up 1,000,000 times or whatever, is like, effort's half the thing. If you're putting in the
Absolutely.
time and showing that you're interested in anything, you're not going to have people coming to chase you to like, hey, let me show you something, or anything in life, but especially the fire department. Like, nobody's going to go out of their way. If you seem disinterested, nobody's going to come, knocking on your door, or, hey, listen, man, let me show you something. And if you're asking, and if you're showing the initiative and the interest and all that stuff, anybody I work with, which I would imagine is the entire fire department, fire service around the country, around the world, if you're willing to put the time in and show that you care and you have interest in it, anybody will show you or offer the, their information and experience.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, I definitely had a lot of influential people. So the other thing is like, I got on again, 22. And, I guess thinking about my class, we were all kind of more or less not the same age. I guess half of us were younger, and then there were a couple guys who were like in the 30 plus range, and a couple guys in their late 20s. But, contrary to that, all the guys on the job for the most part were all senior guys. I mean, I say it all the time now. Like, I'm a younger, I'm a young chief. I got, in my 17th year, I'm 38. All the captains when I got on could have been my father. Never mind the Chiefs. The Chiefs, maybe with the exception of a couple guys, were like, older, not older looking, but like seasoned, kind of been there and done that. And they just been around the block several times. And they just.
Well, we had a certain governor that kind of helped them make their decision to retire.
Yes, we did, sadly enough. Well, and it's funny you bring that up because it kind of like, I forget who I was talking about, a couple guys at work not that long ago, was talking about the evolution of the job and how things have changed so much. We've been going through a growing pain since he came and went. But, I said, for me, I'm kind of like professionally, I almost benefited from a lot of the crazy shit that he did.
Oh, absolutely.
I said, I would have never might become a chief officer. I might not have made captain, there just wasn't, we don't have the manpower to where there is the turnover. A lot of times guys would come and they'd age out, or they do 35 or, whatever. So the way we had that consistent turnover when he came in, there was the floodgates were open, like literally. So all those older 70s and 80s guys, they had too much to lose, man. They ran for the hills, sadly.
Yeah. I remember, what was that? I remember Carney or Harrison. It was a buddy of mine was captain, and he goes, it's crazy. He goes, yesterday I had, he's talking about when he came up. He's like, as a firefighter, I was surrounded. Like, my senior guy had almost 30 years on. He goes, my captain had 25, 30 years in. He goes, and now all of a sudden, he goes, you look at the age of the department. He goes, my senior guy, my driver, has 5 years.
Yeah.
He goes,
it's chronic, man. It's chronic everywhere.
It's crazy. And
these guys, it depends.
People come to the firehouse. They love their job. I mean, you don't leave a job that you love. You look at the statistics.
Not.
You don't leave a job that you love. You leave bad management, or in the corporate world, or you leave when they're attacking your future.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
No, and I think that's most of the things. Like the guys I've, again, not that I'm on 100 years, but in my time we had a large amount of turnover. Probably more turnover in a 10-year or 2011. Excuse me, since 2011, since that guy did what he did. In that time, and we probably had more turnover from then to now, which is 13 years, than I would say probably the 30 years.
Before that,
maybe even more than that. Yeah. I mean, again, you had guys. I wasn't around with any 60s guys, but I mean, I caught a good amount of 70s guys, a whole slew of 80s guys, and then it's funny because now all my buddies who we were just kind of having this full circle conversation about how the job goes round and round, but a bunch of my buddies that I work with now, they're in like the 10-year range. And they're like, it's so weird because, I look at you as now in the range of the guys who just retired. And I said, well, it's funny. When I got on, those were the middle of the road guys. And, I look at them as like, the young officers or the seasoned firemen, and just kind of, the middle of the road prime, in their prime stud guys. And now they're all gone. Not all, but a good amount of them retired. And it's just, it's weird. It's weird how that goes. But yeah, those '70s guys and '80s guys, man, they caught so much work, and sadly, we have a nice thing going, but the workload isn't what it once was. The city was
Yeah.
gentrified, and it's good in a lot of ways. Of course, you don't want to see the place.
Oh, of course.
You don't want to see the city as a volcano, but you only learn this job by doing it. You could talk about it, you could read about it, you could go over scenarios, you could go over things at the table, which I think
100%.
is valuable, and it's definitely it's a starting point. But until you do it, you got to do it. Because you could describe, or you could try to explain or pass along a vicarious experience. It may resonate with some guys to an extent, but it's not going to mean anything until they see it. And then when you get that light bulb goes, oh shit, I know what Joe was talking about, and it kind of makes sense. It kind of comes back around, and the picture. It makes more sense when they experience it versus I get what you're saying, kind of, but I'm not really understanding it. Like show me, kind of like that.
It's funny you say that.
But yeah,
put it that way. No, go ahead. It's funny you say that.
I was waiting on you.
And put it that way, because I always here growing up in the fire service, I was literally listening to guys in my dad's volunteer firehouse that were World War II veterans, and in his career firehouse and everything like that. And excuse me. So I was hearing all these stories over the years about this and that, and there's certain times in fires where I'll just start laughing because it's something I never saw before. That I remember that old man at the back table of the real firehouse telling me about it, and I'm like, holy shit! This is a guy that has been.
It's crazy.
It's
crazy how that goes, man.
And all of a sudden now it's clicking. And throughout my life, that's happened, and it's funny you mentioned that, like that phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, I think it happens to most of us. I know, I can't say I know, but I know personally. I think most of us are better visual learners than we are. I mean, like I said before, my classroom days were behind me when I was 14 years old in high school. But even now, you could have anybody, the best of the, you could have Vinny Dunn come in after an hour. Everybody's kind of like the eyes are fading, everybody's looking the other way. Who's got to get up to take a bathroom break? Whereas don't get me wrong, the classroom stuff is vitally important. You need to, they need to complement one another. You need that classroom to kind of drive home points and bring to light certain issues and do like a slow down approach. But then you need to now be able to apply it in the hands-on and practical setting. But I think we're more visual learners to where, if you see something or you do something, you're going to be much more inclined to not screw it up or retain it. Whereas, like, you read something, you talk about something, it's like, yeah, okay, I get, I hear where you're coming from, I get it. But when you do it, it's kind of like, okay, now I know, really know what meant by that. Yeah. So, and I think most of the people I know in the fire department are like that. They're like, yeah, listen, I get it, but let's go do it. Go show me what we're talking about. And then it's like, okay, now it's kind of like they complement one another. And,
like this right here.
Yeah, exactly.
I guarantee the guy in the back said smooth bores are better. And the guy in the front said, what the hell's an automatic nozzle?
Yep. No, I know. It's my buddy John, my man, one of my main men. That was, God, I don't know how many years ago that was. I was new captain, and we were messing around. We were always doing something, always messing around with something in front of quarters. That's right next door to our firehouse. There's like a mixed occupancy building. There's like a glass store on the ground floor, a big roll down gate. It almost looks like a firehouse, and the apartments upstairs. They're great people there. So we're always messing around in front of quarters. But we had like a combo nozzle on the yellow line, and then the white line was a breakaway nozzle, like the integrated smooth bore fitting that they had. It's old. I mean, we've kind of evolved. Believe it or not, we were running that might have been like our standpipe stuff.
Okay.
We were kind of up until not that long ago, we were using some not antiquated, just kind of I guess antiquated equipment. Not that it wasn't serviceable, antiquated in the sense of that it was kind of like not best practices, and we were kind of like taking a chance, and it worked out, I guess. Luckily nobody got hurt, but there were those times where you get a job and it's like, all right, we got a gated Y, and then there's one line and there's the other, and then we open this line, and the minute you open that line, then this one goes limp, and so it was kind of we've evolved. Fortunately, they've done a nice job in Hudson County where they're trying to take on these programs or initiatives where they have everybody on the same page. They implemented 2-inch standpipe hose, which we were running 1.75 solid tip nozzles. But from what I understand, unless I'm botching, I think everybody in the county on the engines, they're all mirror images of one another, for multiple reasons, so that if we get something major, big scale, or or on an aid, everybody's equipment is interchangeable and compatible, and also that it just makes sense. I mean, that's what you kind of should be using. But
Okay.
yeah, they didn't go with the 2.5 just because none of us have the manpower that we would like to run that. Well, a couple, but not us. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think anybody's got the one
Most
department
people,
across the river
not
might
many.
have enough.
Yeah.
Not on this
No,
side.
you know what, man? I always said I wish they would model the things like that. The powers that be and the alphabet agencies. I wish they would model those things instead of certain other things. Take note of their manpower and their staff, and not some other stuff.
Yeah.
But that's how it always goes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
all right. So, what was it? Well, first of all, tell us a little bit about the department.
So yeah, we kind of jumped all over. We're in Hudson County, and we run probably at about 130 guys, I think, total, something like that.
Okay.
I know we've actually been hiring, and it's through attrition. They've we've, like I said before, we had a lot of guys split, and they've been pretty good about backfilling one for one, depending on how it goes, and they've been really good over the last so many years. But yeah, I think we're at right around the 130 mark, give or take, and that's total manpower. That's we run a 4-group system like other departments in the area. So we run A group, B group, C group, D group. I'm now in C. I started my career in B. I got promoted to captain. I was in D. Now I'm battalion. I'm the 12th commander in C. I guess we run roughly 30 guys a group, give or take, just, depending on assignments. We have a training bureau where people are assigned to that. It's headed by a chief. Then we have firefighters. I don't know if there's a captain assigned there right now. Then we have a fire prevention bureau. They're independent of that 130 number. But like line personnel, we run the 4-group system. We run 3 engines, 2 truck companies, and a rescue.
Okay.
We are, I guess what do they call it now? Not CFR. They changed the name of it now. It's EMR, Emergency Medical Responders. So we're kind of like first responders. We still do that. Basic first aid. We'll come see what's going on, but we're not going to be able to transport you. We do that. Fortunately, we don't do a lot of that. I know that's kind of a common theme.
Do you guys run on everything EMS or just like cardiac? Traumas?
No, well, okay, so yeah, we run on everything in the sense that we could get called to, like, somebody goes over their handlebars on a bike and they scrape their knee, we could get called for that. And then, yeah, of course, right, CPR or, an advanced life thing, we would definitely get called for. We have all that training, but we don't, I misunderstood you. We don't go on like automatically. I know some departments.
You're not going on grandma feels sick and needs a ride to the hospital.
We could. I mean, it's not a common occurrence, but that's what I'm saying. Fortunately, we don't. The multitude of our runs are not medical. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some days. There's some days where you get every 40 minutes they're putting you out for an EMS run, but it doesn't comprise most of the run.
Yeah,
which
it's
is
not
good.
beating
I know a lot of other places. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of places are doing, however many thousand runs they're doing, and then it's like, yeah, but half of them are medical, and it's like, and then beyond that, a lot of them are kind of, BS. You hate to say it that way, but call what it is. You kind of babysitting until a bus becomes available for a transport. But
exactly.
Yeah, luckily we don't do that. We have a really good crew in town. Ironically enough, still in 2024, there's a volunteer ambulance corps that they run most of it, and then they have like agreements. Yeah. The guy that runs it, he's been running it for 50 years. He's my dispatch coincidentally, but he runs a great ship there. They're really, I don't know how many buses they run. I think 2 to 3, depending on they upstaff when they need to, and I guess when they're predicting a large presence or whatever. But yeah, they do a solid job. I know they have agreements or aid, whatever they call it. with Jersey City Medical Center, and then we have the hospital in town, Hoboken University. Um, but yeah, I mean, any given day you have ambulances from all over the city. I'm sorry, all over the county. Or, West New York, Union City, North Bergen, Jersey City, Hoboken.
Yeah.
There's constantly something happening. So what else about the department? Let's see. So we got three, 2, and 1. Our running assignments are we will run 2 engines, truck, and the rescue. Go on anything fire related. So report a fire, fire alarms activated. We still call them like kind of an old fashioned term, like a still alarm. Not that it means anything, but it kind of wakes you up. Like, all right, we got to report of something, report a smoke, report a fire. So still alarms, fire alarm, activated alarms. What else would it be? Like,
now, how many stations do you have?
Tenant calls in. We have 4.
Okay.
Yeah, we run 4. So we have one on Washington Street, which is like our main drag on the north end of the city, 13th and Wash. Truck and an engine runs out of there. And then Observer Highway, which is the southern end of the city, truck and an engine runs out of there. And then our rescue firehouse, which is right in the middle of town, 8th and Clinton, that's a rescue and an engine. And then our headquarters where I'm at is the main fire headquarters. Years ago, we had a pumper right out of that. And, just through circumstance that was kind of permanently browned out. So we run the battalion, the tour commander rides out of there, the fire prevention bureau, the chief of the department, his staff, the dispatchers run out of there. What am I missing in there?
That's lonely. You're there at night by yourself?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I have an aide, so that's good. But yeah, I mean,
okay.
On nights and weekends. Yeah, nights and weekends, you could have the building to yourself. Really, I mean, we have the dispatchers on the top floor, and then you can have like two to 3 floors of just nothing. You by yourself, and then during the day on a weekday, it's like chaos. There's a lot of foot traffic, a lot of action. A lot happening. But after 4 o'clock, man, the place does get quiet. That's honestly, that's one of the things. One of the things I miss the most. I said you don't know what you have until it's gone. I guess, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but it is.
I was
going
to say you must do a lot of station visits.
Oh my God, we do. The guys are great. They always invite us for dinner, and we're always out. We're doing something, and kind of running. But it could get lonely, man. It's like a disconnected, isolated position, and in hindsight, I'm very grateful for where I am, but I think I kind of moved up a little too quick. I would have liked to spend more time in the house. I mean, if it was up to me, I could do 40 years and it probably wouldn't be enough. I hope I'm still saying that when I get to that point, but it's, there's nothing like being in the quarters. And that's what I tell the guys. I was like, I have to deal with some bullshit because I have the brass around, and, I kind of try to shield my guys from a lot of the BS, but I said, you guys have that. I try, I was instilled in me. That's how I was brought up. And, you get to a position of rank and authority, not to beat your chest, but to relish that, to take that seriously and do right by you guys and you gals, and, protect them when they, I don't know if I can curse on here, but,
yeah, absolutely.
Am I able to curse? Protect them when they fuck up, and, and then praise them when they do well. And that's kind of your job, I think,
Absolutely.
But you should be able to shield them and protect them. They're your family. It's not that they're my kids, but I'm responsible for 25 people every day. It's my responsibility. That's what I put my hand up to do, and I take it very seriously. And,
well, if you listen to Getting Salty, the Getting Salty podcast, Lou Refrano, retired lieutenant from FDNY, he describes it as when you're a fireman, you're going to the beach with your buddies. You pack your cooler, you pack your lunch, and you just go have fun. When you're an officer, you're going to the beach with your kids.
Yeah.
You got to make sure they're wearing sunblock. You got to make sure they're eating. Who's got to go
Who's
to the bathroom.
fed? Who's this?
So,
no relaxation. That's for sure.
I've always heard him say that, and I got to give Lou Refrano total credit from that. Which, by the way, I don't know.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
They're selling partner saw pizza cutters.
That's funny.
I
Oh
can't
my
wait to
God,
use it.
that's hysterical. That's
But
funny. No,
he said
that's a
that,
good way of
and it's
putting it.
always clicked and resonated, and I'm like, that's
It's
so
true. You know,
true.
you're always kind of like on guard. You're always watching. You're always doing something. And not to say that they're kids. I mean, half the guys I work with are older than I am, are the same age as me. But
Oh, you got a
you are
responsibility.
responsible for them. Yep,
Yep.
that's your job. It doesn't matter how old you are, how much time you have. If that's your position, you are responsible for that.
Hmm.
And you know, I say when they screw up, it falls on me. It reflects on me. When they do
Yep.
well, it's not on me. It's on them. It's on me to
Yeah.
applaud them and whatever. But yeah, you know you when you take those positions, that's what I tell guys. I was like, listen, man, it's good to study or whatever your aspirations are, but just know they're paying you for a reason. That
Yeah.
differential of when you jump up to ranks, like they're not doing that because they like you or whatever. They're doing
Yeah.
that because
Oh
of the
yeah.
responsibility you want to take, the decisions you have to make, the well-being of your people, well-being of the civilians and the public and the buildings and everything. They're not doing it
Hmm.
because they like you. They're doing it because there's a
100%.
lot of responsibilities, and you got to
Yeah.
know that going in. Because if you don't
Yeah.
go into that knowing that, and it's like, oh yeah, this is fun, until it's like I got to make a call and lives are in the balance, or
Yeah.
$10 million of properties in the balance because you made a bad decision or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's what you.
100%.
That comes with the territory, man. So just go into that knowing it.
Or you pull up
Um,
on one of those big high
but
rises,
yes,
and I got 100 people whose lives are dependent on
yeah,
it.
right. Absolutely, man. And you gotta have your shit in order, and you gotta just having this conversation with a guy I worked with the other night, my buddy, and I'm like, for me, most of the shit's rehearsed in my head. I already know what I'm doing before I pull out the door. It's just what building we're at, where's the fire at. But I mean, you should know what
Yeah.
the hell you're doing going into.
Yep.
Conform to your SOPs. Make sure the guys know it. Carry them out. Stick to the game plan. Don't try to. I mean, maybe you have to audible occasionally, but if you try to go make it up on the fly, I don't know many people
Yeah.
who are good enough to do that.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
it's kind of it's already ready. It's there. You just got to follow the script. Just stick to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
make the adjustments, adjust to the curveball, do things like that. But you can't pull up and like, all right, what am I going to do now? Like
Well, like you
if you're
said,
winging it,
your SOPs, your training, your pre-plans, that's all that's Sunday morning walking into MetLife Stadium. Here's your game plan. But now you're up
yeah,
on the fire floor and you're reading blitz. You're the
you
officer
make the
there,
adjustment.
and
Yep,
something's not right. You got to call that audible. But
yep,
you got to have that training and experience to
yeah,
first realize that somebody's coming. Something's
yep,
coming,
yep,
and then have that well, also have that trust instilled in that family environment of your company that, hey, I'm gonna say jump and they're gonna say let's go,
yeah.
and they're gonna
No, I
listen.
agree, man. It yeah, you got to have like that wherewithal, presence of mind, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's not something to just kind of like you're gonna make up on the fly and then it's gonna just all work out. I don't
Hmm.
anything I've ever seen like that usually didn't have too great of an outcome. So
Yeah.
um, I think stick to the plan, man. Don't reinvent the wheel. The wheel's round. Stick to it. Let it play out, and then know when to deviate. So like you hear people say a lot of times, oh, about freelancer and this and that, like whatever everybody's definition is. My definition to me of a freelancer is somebody who's pretty much just getting off the rig and doing whatever the fuck they want. As opposed to somebody who's recognizing things that need to happen and then making the decision based upon what the needs of
Hmm.
what are in front of them. That to me is
100%.
freelance, and that's adjusted. That's making
Yeah.
adjustments and recognizing what the problems are and making the adjustments. But yeah, if you're just pulling up willy nilly, guns ablazing, running around like a lunatic, doing whatever you want, that to me would be a freelancer, and
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. But that's not going to work too well for too long.
No, you're right. That's something that reports come out about. Oh, lost you. So while he is buffering, this is run number 13 with Battalion Chief Joe Grossi Jr. Um, Follow him on social media if you don't already. Uh, Instagram, he is Joe.Grossi Jr. on Instagram. Um, if you're not one of his 14,000 followers already, follow him. He usually posts some really good tips and tricks. And yeah, so there we go. He's back.
Hey, yeah, I don't know what happened. My computer just turned off.
Yeah, no problem. Just
Okay.
reminded the fans who you are and that's his run number 13. And
All right, cool.
I actually said if they're not one of your 14.4 thousand followers on Instagram already, go over to
Yeah.
Grossi Jr. and follow him.
Thank you. Yeah.
I can see you blushing. I like it.
It's funny, man. I get a kick
You're
out of it. It's
you're a
I'm
very
not, as you
modest
can
man.
imagine, I'm not a tech savvy guy, so I laugh at all my online things. I get a kick out of it because it's a fiasco getting me to put anything together. I'm trying to get better with it, but I'm not tech savvy by any means. So
Neither am I.
even this,
But
just now,
so now,
I was about to hit the orange button, man, when the computer turned over. I said, "Oh fuck, I got to get my Mayday." But yeah. Fortunately, it turned right back on, so I guess I was only 30 seconds behind.
so now you may not be a tech guy, but are you a model? I
No,
gotta
definitely
say,
not.
it looks
No
like you were
way.
modeling for a bus stop.
No way.
Waiting
That's a
for
good filter. Yeah, that's funny. I remember that was going into, I forget where we were going. Well, I know where we were going, but I forget what day it was. We had like a pretty big job where it was kind of like over the course of 3 days, 4 days.
Okay.
And that was, I think, like the in between day where I came in. It was like a big factory that's pretty much, there was all kinds of shit in it, but it was burning for like 3 days. And that was, I think, I went in the night it happened. I worked the next day, so it might have been like the day after or 2 days after. But yeah, that was a funny picture. We were laughing about that. You got all my
So now,
junk.
so now it looks like you're waiting for a bus.
No, that's me. I'm getting ready to load my shit in the pickup truck to go to the fire scene that's been burning for 2.5 days.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So speaking of large incidents, were you working in 2016 for the derailment?
I wasn't on duty. I came in shortly thereafter. Yes. Was that
Okay.
Wow, that was 2016. I lost track of
Yeah.
that. Wow. Yeah. So I was, yep, there it is. Yeah. Yeah.
So can you talk about that a little, or?
Yeah, I could talk about what I recall. So yeah, that was a C group morning. At the time, I was a captain in D, so I would have been coming in the next day. And I remember it was pretty early in the morning. I would say it was probably before 10, maybe. I don't know if you know offhand, Nick. It was probably somewhere around 10 o'clock in the morning. Do you have that info by any chance or no? It doesn't matter.
I'm looking.
But yeah, I mean it's kind of relevant, but it's kind of irrelevant. So they started getting a couple calls in the dispatch office for possible train derailment in the transit station. So we have on our southeast portion of the city, we have pretty much like a metro version, a small version of the subway in New York City. We have what we call the Path. It's a Port Authority train system. And there's a handful of stops underground, and then above ground we have a transit system, New Jersey Transit, that runs above ground commuter rail, and that's what you see right there. So that'll run shit. We cover, I think, all parts of the state.
It was approximately 0838 hours on September 29th,
Oh wow, was that early?
2016.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was a little bit later, I think, and I'll get to why. But yeah, this was a train. I forget where it was coming in from, but again, I don't quote me on it because I don't want to speak, especially incorrectly on a fatal matter. But whatever had happened, the train derailed in the train station, and so yeah, I guess it was that early in the morning. But for people that aren't familiar with Hoboken, it's kind of like we're a square mile. And there's just nothing but density. There's cars, there's people, there's pedestrians, there's dogs, there's visitors, there's buildings, there's just things on top of things. And because we are our proximity to New York City, when I used to work in the city, I worked with a couple of people from the Bronx, a couple of people from Queens, a couple of people from Staten Island. I'd be able to get into Manhattan from Hoboken much faster than all those other people. Who had to jump on a ferry, who had to jump on an express train that took 45 minutes to an hour, And I mean, we're in. You jump on the Batt train, and you could be in New York in a matter of like 8 minutes, depending on what stop you're going to. You could go up by the Garden, you go down by the World Trade Center, you could go to Jersey City, you could go to Newark.
Yeah.
But so this is a very heavily congested area, especially in the city, to where you have a ton of people just commuting and visiting and passing through, and it's a transportation hub. So yeah, I think registered we might have like 60 to 70 or whatever thousand people registered as residents, but you have well over 100,000. That's it, the Lackawanna station. So yeah, what you see right there would be the ferry terminals, and then where that big pretty clock is, that kind of Big Ben looking clock. Right below that would be a little further west would be what you see in the picture of the derailment with the steel and all kind of discombobulated. But yeah, you have probably over 100,000 people on a Monday through Friday passing through with commuters and just whatever, vehicular traffic, pedestrian traffic, you name it. Now the bikes, the scooters, it's just kind of it's a shit show. It's difficult driving a car, never mind fire apparatus around. But yeah, so this happened earlier than I recall. But long story short, there was a young lady, from what I understand, she was unfortunately expired. She was killed from this. And you try to. I mean, I'm an optimistic person. I try to see the good in it. It wasn't my doing. Obviously, I wasn't even on duty at the time. I came in to help, and I was called in. But it was only one fatality. You kind of look at the from what I just described, that could have easily been in the triple digits, or if not more. You have tons of people, tens and 50 and hundreds of people just lined up along the track. So that's afterwards everybody's this counts a miracle that only one person lost their life. It could have easily been in the hundreds.
It says at least 114 people were injured and transported to local hospitals.
Yep.
The sole fatality was an attorney, a 34-year-old attorney, Fabiola Bitter de Kroon. May she rest in peace.
Yes, of course. She was a young woman, just from what I understand, waiting for the train. And what happened, it happened. And and then so we have for the viewers that may not be aware, so in the northern part of New Jersey, as well as the southern part, but in the northern part we have what's called the Metro USAR Strike Team. It's a FEMA organized, pretty much urban search and rescue team, and we in Hoboken we're one of the 11 agencies that are involved in that, and I'm almost certain down the southern part of the state has their own version of that. We're the Rust rural urban search. So we hit the button for resources pretty much. We have 11 agencies, 10 FD and 1 PD, Port Authorities, the 11th unit, 11th agency that's involved in that. And it was kind of, the impetus came from 9/11 to where, the need for hands and tools and brains and everything, just to kind of standardize something across the board. So they gave these 11 rigs out that were mirror images of one another with the same equipment, and they trained everybody. And for when disaster strikes, you hit the button, and you could call for a partial response, you could call for a full response, and circumstances kind of dictating the actions for the guy in the street making the call. So they hit the button. They had resources rolling in. They had, we didn't know the extent of the life hazard. Obviously, you suspected or you assumed that there was going to be a high one during travel time in the morning on a weekday, heavily occupied area.
That's peak travel time, 8 o'clock.
Yeah. That's I guess just I had thought it was a little later because of the numbers involved, but I think it was just a little bit of luck, and that's kind of, as we know in this job, sometimes it's better to be lucky.
It says the train involved left Spring Valley, New York around 7:30, and the accident occurred around 20 to 9.
Wow.
So,
our group C, they were on duty. Okay. Oh yeah, I mean throughout that morning, probably from 6 a.m. to that time,
thousands of people, 20,000 people in that station
easily. And again, just trying to get to Manhattan, trying to get to Lower Manhattan, trying to get to everywhere else in Manhattan, or wherever else they're passing through, or trying to get to for work. But
Now, were you on the rescue at that time, or?
I was on the rescue. I was coming in the next day. So, they kind of the chiefs at the time they were orchestrating for kind of bad, worst case scenario, not too good. So you hit that button for the UASI response, and then
Okay.
like everything else, that kind of takes time. You're in essence requesting
Oh,
mutual aid,
absolutely.
but now
Hmm.
you got people coming from Union County, you got people coming from Passaic County, you got people coming from Hudson County,
Bergen,
you got people coming from Bergen,
Essex.
you got people coming, yeah. So it's you're hitting the button, but it's like, yeah, okay, well now we got Jersey City to our south, we got North Hudson to our north.
Yeah.
They're first due behind us, but how long is it going to take them to
Yeah.
get assembled, get on their rig? Most places don't run the federal apparatus is front line. So now, do they have to change over equipment? Do they have to mount another rig? Where are they coming
Yeah.
from? So there's that reflex time of from when it's like, hey, I need you, to when I get you. Like
Now, is
anything,
the
whether it's a fire or whatever.
do you guys utilize your UASI rig as your main rescue for Rescue One?
No, so at the time we still have it. It's I love the rig. I'm biased. We have a single axle walk-in 1997 E1
Okay.
rescue apparatus. It's seen its better days. Coincidentally, they're talking about refurbishing it, kind of giving it the the TLC that it
The
desperately
facelift.
needs. Yeah, I mean it's ideal for around the city. It's got just enough room to fit all the stuff we need, and it's easy to negotiate turns, and it's not too big. I mean we can't start getting a double axle.
Yeah.
50
No.
foot long apparatus. It's just not going to work. Not in a city with all tight one way streets with double parking on top of triple parking.
Yeah.
So we've been for the last so many years. We've actually been running as a rescue, almost like a squad concept apparatus. And the
Okay.
chief that put it into service. It makes sense. There's guys that are pro and for. I mean, I still like the rescue rig because if it's going to operate as a rescue, it should be, you want to kind of have what you
Yeah.
need for equipment needs and storage, as opposed to fitting
Absolutely.
10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. But the idea of it does make sense. It's like, all right, well, listen, what puts out a fire? Water. If we have another means of carrying some water and we
Hmm.
can still store the stuff we need day to day. I mean, most times we're not using concrete chipping equipment and jackhammers and
Yeah.
struts. That's not the day to day. So we have the federal apparatus that if we need to bring that,
Okay.
we will. And that's actually what happened on the day of the derailment. So we have Rescue 1, Engine 3, and then Rescue 2 was taken along. And, kudos to the guys that were working. They had the wherewithal to kind of hear the box come in, hear the
Yeah.
severity of it and what the report was. And they just were able to, hey, listen, you two guys, don't jump on the rig. You guys are taking the federal rig just in case. And it ended
Yeah.
up they needed it. They
Probably
definitely
stripped
needed it.
everything off
So
of
they
it.
had, oh yeah, there were Paratech struts everywhere, and and it was still not enough, because you have a steel
Of
framed,
course.
train station that just you need to catch as much as you can, and it's 15 feet off the ground. You're not shoring up a house or a store or something small. You're trying to catch
Yeah.
structural elements, and you're trying to catch them where they're at and prevent them from moving anymore, and then not being too rough to where you're gonna move them and cause additional
Yeah.
collapses. So it's they emptied all the Paratechs. Um, so I got called in, um, just being one of the guys familiar with all the equipment and the apparatus and the training. And we just got to work. So I got assigned to actually man the Rescue 2 rig. So I was, in essence, the officer of Rescue 2.
Okay.
And, I remember getting there, checking in with the incident commander. And there was a lot of people there, as you can imagine. There were bystanders. There was, pandemonium with EMS and news media and PD agencies. You have New Jersey Transit runs their own PD. Then you have Port Authority, obviously, their own PD. New Jersey Transit runs their own, I don't know if they call it a rescue company, but they have pretty much the same rig that we have. It's a big, huge rescue apparatus.
That goes on the
And
tracks.
those
That's
guys,
awesome.
that's those guys are real deal. They're legit. They have a really good
Now, was there any
curriculum of training.
no, was there any talks at all about or concerns of terrorism or contamination or explosives or any of that stuff? I mean,
Not
I
not
I
so
know the
much. Not
area
that I
we
know
live
about.
in.
Mhm.
Okay. So they weren't really.
Not so much. It wasn't suspected as anything like foul play. It was just more like, all right, how many? The focus was more on the quantity of people that
The
there could
mass
have been, and like, all
casualty
right,
aspect.
yeah, right. It was like an MCI. All right, what are we missing? The searches would started already, and there was blood on the floor and stuff like that from the injuries and everything else. So it's like, all right, what are we missing? Where is somebody pinned? Where is somebody under? We got to sweep the car. We have to secure the car. We have to make sure it's de-energized. We have to do this in a precarious position with steel and heavy shit above us, and that takes time and manpower. And then so you had other units coming in from that federal response. You had other companies. I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think Jersey City might have even just sent a box of like just truck and engine, several apparatus and chiefs. North Hudson, I believe, did the same. So you had a lot of people. So then with that becomes now it's like the management side of it too.
Yeah.
And you hear of the unified command. That's probably the only time in my career that I've been at a scene that was legitimately needed a unified command, because you have it's a legal issue, because now we have confirmed fatalities. So now it's in essence a
criminal
crime scene
investigation. Yeah.
because of what's happened in the area. Is there foul play involved in this now? We
Mm-hmm.
have all of our members operating. So it's like really trying to break the scene down and manage it, but work together without, stepping on each other's what's. And I was riding the rig at the time, so I wasn't upper management, but I know you had a ton of white hats floating around, and everybody just had the common goal of trying to get in there and get the searches done and secure everything, and get aid rendered to whoever needed it. So
absolutely.
yeah, that was an interesting day. Definitely took a lot away from that, of just just something as simple as like you hear about it or you think about it or whatever. You take a class, it might be one of those funny buzzwords, like just something as simple as like allowing access routes for ambulances to get in and out of the scene. It's like it sounds stupid, but it's like in a case like that, it's vital. And again, like in Hoboken, we have nothing but traffic 24 hours a day. So it's like now you're getting into the congested area. So now we're telling you we have people. We need to get people that golden hour. We need to get people from point A to point B, be in the hospital. We can't even get ambulances into the block if we have a dozen rescues and PD cars and news and pedestrians and bystanders and everything else. So
the
having
fire
that, like,
rescue side of me is saying, I need to get all that UASI equipment and all those shoring vehicles and supplies
as close
up,
as we can.
but then the EMT side of me is saying, I need all these ambulances. I can't get all these stretcher, tell all these ambulances to stretcher patients blocks.
No doubt. And it's like, then you have a helicopter landing with the governor flying in, at the park or down the block. So it's like, that's a whole commotion. Then it's like, all right, well, how much PD is available to control the normal traffic, and then also
they must have had to shut down the entire city.
Yeah, the south end of the city was a war zone. I mean, and again, like, fortunately, the extent of it was one too many, but the extent of it could have easily been, like I said, in the hundreds of people that were killed.
Thousands.
Yeah, right. Maybe more. Yeah, no doubt. And so that was, like I said, it was a good learning experience. It was we kind of you hear in the fire service all the time about efficiency. I'm like, well, you got fucking 200 guys working. You don't need to be efficient. You just need to be effective. Places that are smaller do need to be efficient. You need to make do with what you have. And you could ask, you could say whatever the hell you want on the radio. Oh, yeah, give me a 10th alarm. Yeah, that sounds great. But guess what? You get what you get. Maybe you're going to get some aid or whatever, but that's all bullshit for most places. So you do have to be efficient. Right. Yeah. What's the turnaround time from when you call for something versus when you see it? So, yeah, that's definitely, I like where I work. I enjoy it. It keeps you on your toes. You don't have the wiggle room for forgiveness if you're at a place, or if you fuck up, or you get what you get, and that's it. You don't have that. You're not getting 50 guys on a box. You get 20 guys on a box, and you got to go. You have to go, and you have to carry out your assignment, fulfill your position, and if you don't, somebody's going to get the brunt of it. Somebody's going to bite the bullet for it. So, but yeah, that was an interesting day. It definitely. It was an all day operation, and we came in the next morning. And, we chopped it up at the table, talked about some things. I was working, so I got to pass along with my crew. A couple other guys that I worked with were there, but I always try to take things as a learning opportunity or an opportunity to
Oh,
talk
of
about
course, you
things and,
have
and
to,
get better. You know, gotta
especially
have thick
something
skin,
like
I think.
especially something like that. We were talking earlier in the program about how you could take all the training classes you want, you could read all the books you want, but until you have your hands on, and I mean, granted, a live scenario, that many that many patients, that many people trapped, it's uncontrolled. But really, you gotta take that as a training experience. I mean, and
Yeah,
sometimes slowing down and, hey, you two guys, I need you to do this. Remember when we went over that? I need you to
yeah,
and explain, because you got to rely on them, taking that what they learned in the
and
back
apply it.
parking lot of the firehouse
Yeah.
and
Now it's time
applying it
to.
properly.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Yeah.
this
Now
is
it's time to
a very
deliver.
narrow, yeah, with a very very narrow margin for error.
Yeah, no doubt. And like I said, I like that because it kind of puts you on the spot. Makes you you have to produce. You have to
Like you
execute.
said,
You
put
got
up
to
or shut
deliver.
up.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. You can't. You show up to a fucking two-story house with 50 guys. You could afford to have 10 idiots show up because that means you still have 40 other people. So
The
it's like
the
you
Nomex
have.
is going to suffocate the fire.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you don't have that, it kind of not that I don't think anybody's looking to screw up, but it forces you to be that much more conscientious of being on top of your game and really
100%.
carrying out what your duties are. Whatever position you're in on the rig you're riding. So
Absolutely.
I like that. Um, yeah, but that was an interesting day. I can't believe that was 8 years ago. Is that what you said? 2016. That's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
coming up on 8 years.
Wow,
Um, all right. So,
time goes too fast, man.
any other memorable incidents? First fire,
Um,
guys you worked with that taught you anything specific, or good
oh
mentors
yeah, I
that
mean,
you've had?
oh god, yeah, I had so many great guys in my first house. The captains were great. Like I said, they were just like older guys. They could have been my dad, and they didn't treat you as like a kid. Even though I guess I kind of was. They treat you like an adult. They were fair, but they were stern. If you fucked up, they let you know it. They didn't sugarcoat anything, and they were tough on you. But it was, I think, out of love. And like I said earlier, if you kind of showed that you had that drive and that initiative, they took a liking to you, and they'd be more inclined to show you things and to mess with you. You kind of you
Yeah,
hear that all the time. If the guys don't fuck with you, they don't like you. I think there's a lot of truth in that. At least where I am. But you get we had so many good guys, man. I mean, we had guys, senior guys, 25-year guys. Then you had like the 15 to 20-year guys at the time, and then we had a couple of us younger guys. So we got to really just learn from guys who've done it, and and they held you accountable. They held you in line. They something as simple as like just housework. Like cleaning up the house and getting the equipment squared away and like they held you to a standard and they expected you to do it. They treat you like an adult. If you can do it, they let you know about it.
yeah,
It wasn't like
absolutely.
this environment we find ourselves in now. Sometimes where everything's got to be like sugar coated and yeah, it's all right. You came in eighth place, but we're gonna give you the eighth place trophy. No, fuck that bullshit. You fucked
Eh,
up. This is how it is. I want you to
Yeah,
know that you did, so that now you'd be more inclined to not do so in the future.
absolutely.
It's almost like with kids, man. You don't.
Well, if I can't trust you to
If you
sweep
don't.
and mop the floor in the firehouse,
Yeah.
how am I going to trust you to have my back?
Right. And
Or how am I going?
it's mundane maybe when compared to the fire ground and the fire
Well,
floor. It's the same
exactly.
concept. If you can't
Oh,
undertake
absolutely.
responsibility, then what's the difference? Yeah, whether you're pulling a mine down a
Hmm.
down a hallway or you're mopping the floor or you're getting dinner together. It's the same thing. If you can't be trusted, you can't be trusted. You know,
Or yeah,
it's as
exactly,
simple as that.
exactly. It's trust is everything. And
Yeah,
if I can't trust you with my wife, I can't trust you with my life.
yeah. Yeah, that's what one of the old school captains said. If I can't trust you with my pen, how am I going to trust you with my life? If he gives his pen out to fill out the paperwork, and it's true. You're sloppy, you lose it. You're careless. But yeah, memorable jobs. I mean, you know, had a, I've had a good amount of work in my career that you know, like I said, it's kind of the nature of the beast, man. The '60s guys were busier than the '70s and '80s and '90s, and so on. You go to 1,000 fires, you'll be looking for the 1,001st. So I don't think there's ever enough. But I guess I had maybe like a few months on the job. We caught a fatal, so that was kind of yeah, that was a funny one. That was a senior building high rise. Um, yeah, we were still running the 10 gear back then. Um,
You
that
were
was
saying,
that
sorry, I
looked.
cut you off.
Oh no, no, it's okay. What was I saying? Oh, we had, I guess, my first few months on, we had a fatal pretty quick, um, and it was big occupied apartment building. Uh, in the city, we have what are called like applied housing. It's like a, you know, like a, what we consider it like affordable housing, I guess. I don't think it's any really affordable anymore, but we have kind of like those buildings that we know they're pretty much just like H types, and they're just, you know,
Okay.
big old, you know, 5, 6 story apartment buildings, no sprinklers, no standpipes, ordinary construction, you know, voids on top of 5 foot cock loft, on top of air shaft, on top of throats, and you know, things like that. But yeah, we had that. I remember that like it was yesterday. And yeah, it was kind of like a freak incident. The woman that passed away, she was elderly and she was found in bed, and she was like remote from the fire area. So it was like, you know, it was kind of like a testament to the building construction. How there's voids, you know, voids for fire
Yeah.
travel. There's also voids for smoke spread, and she was below the
Yeah.
fire floor. She was in like it was just peculiar, you know. And you know, sadly she passed. But I said, you know, I was kind of the guys were like, you know, that's kind of that's a lot when somebody dies, and it's, you know, it's okay if you don't feel right or whatever. You know, I didn't see it. We were working. It was kind of like remote from. It was a very peculiar situation, but yeah, the fire middle of the night. You know, 2:30 in the morning. I remember it was yesterday. The captain, you know, the dispatcher puts it out, report a fire in uptown area, right around the corner from my firehouse that I worked at. I was actually on a detail to the other end of the city, and you know, getting a couple calls. You know, it sounds like work. And I remember the captain. You know, he's like kicks the door out in the office. He's like, "Guys, we got work. Let's go." Everybody go, like calm as a cucumber. You know, routine. But he knew. You know, he just knew from 40 years of
Yeah.
experience. Like, all right, this is going to be something. And then, you know, you find out it's like a couple guys were fooling around, whatever they were doing, and they knocked something over, and they tried to put it out for 15 minutes, and it was, you know, it was going pretty good. But you know, we self dispatched. I remember again just from his experience, we were
Yeah.
already on Washington Street before we even got turned out, and I distinctly remember the smell. You know, we got to the corner, just that smell of like that wood burning. It was just like, you know, it was
Yeah.
very distinct. You know, and even to this day, it's like exhilarating. You know, I feel like you smell before you see when you're on your way to a job, and it's like just
Hmm.
that gets you kind of, for me, it gets me excited. You know, it gets you like kind of your hair standing up. You know, you have something to kind of get your ears up, and like, all right, you know, it's not food, it's not a pot of food, it's some work.
It's like a good steak. When you're about to
Yeah,
bite into it, you
yep,
get that
yep. The
nice
aromas.
buttery whiff.
Yeah, one of my buddies, one of my captains, he used to call it, it's like potpourri in the air. It's true. You know, it's kind of like that. If we could bottle it up and just put it in the house, it would be great.
be the be the
That
best
old
selling
dirty.
cologne.
Yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
that clean fire pit. It's like that old dirty tenement wood smell. You know, 100-year
Yeah.
old wood. It's nothing like
Mm,
that. But
yeah. Plaster and
yeah,
lath.
we yeah, but we got we were the I was on the engine company that night. We were the third due pumper, and you know, I just remember like being a new kid, not knowing anything, not knowing what to do. I knew I had the nozzle,
Hmm.
and you know, we stretched off of the rig closer because, you know, we positioned the rig in a way in case things were going out of, you know, going to
Yeah.
kind of go sideways. And you know, even then, I didn't really know much about it. I think we might have had 2 months in the company or whatever it was. But
Okay.
I remember we positioned the rig in a way that was kind of like, you know, the captain had the guy back into the block. I'm like, all right, in the event this is going to go to shit, we're going to start supplying an
Laying out.
aerial, or, you know, just need to start feeding or whatever. And you know, we grabbed the line, and it was pretty like it was pretty. I don't know what the word would be. It was like everything was happening so fast, but in slow motion at the same time. It was kind of weird. Um, yeah, it was a five story apartment building. Fire was on the top floor. Unbeknownst to us, it burned down and up. So it burned into the
Oh wow.
apartment below. Because, like I said, we got it 20 minutes,
Voids.
half hour later, and yeah, it got into the voids and stuff, and it was just kind of going pretty good. But yeah, I remember us going up the stairs, and you didn't see much until you got to like three, and then once you got to four, heavier smoke condition, and once we got to fire floor, it was pretty much black. And
Okay.
the first two companies were already in. They popped the door. They started the search, and the next day, I remember like talking with my captain who was there, and he was like, "Yeah," he goes, "We took the windows, and nothing happened. It didn't lift at all." And and then it was like it ended up being like rooms down the corridor, and it was in a bedroom, and it burned up, it burned down, and it was just it was everywhere at that point. So
Yeah.
it was a not a whatever you want to call it, a good job, and that you had a lot to do, and there was a lot of work to be done, and pulling ceiling and pulling wall, stretching lines, and but obviously you lost a lot of property in the building. So it was one of
Yeah.
those. I don't think it's that we didn't do a decent job. I think it was kind of like the chips were stacked against you before you even pulled out of the
Yeah.
firehouse, and then unfortunately somebody died. But I guess that was somewhat memorable. That was a long night. I remember us getting there at about 2:30, and we split it to change the tours at 8 o'clock. And then everybody
Oh
got
wow.
together. We went out to breakfast. That was cool. It was kind of a different experience for me. Everybody got together and hung out. Talked about it. And, very very like camaraderie building.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Not obviously the death part cool, but cool in the sense of like it was like that. You're involved in something. You're a tight knit.
Yeah.
You're a tight knit team. So that was pretty cool. Um, yeah, I mean, they all kind of like blend together. I would say, there's some cold ones. I feel like everything always happens when it's bitterly cold out around here. It's never when it's 60 and sunny. It's always
Yeah.
when it's 10 degrees and you're freezing your balls off, and it's whatever.
Or
But
115 with
yeah,
170% humidity.
yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I like the heat, so I could deal with that. I mean, you blow your load eventually. But the cold, I just feel like after a while, I'm just useless. Your gloves are frozen, your gear is frozen, you can't do anything. You're stiff. At least in the
Yeah.
heat, I feel like I could kind of be somewhat limber. But yeah, I mean, everybody's different. Some guys love the cold. I'm like, yeah, I'm out on that. I'm out on anything below 50 degrees. The
I
older I
was gonna
get.
say I'd like a nice 55, 60, sunny.
Yeah,
You know what? Maybe
yeah.
a little partly cloudy.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, when you have your gear on, that's not bad. It's like it's when when you're walking around and it's 40 degrees. I'm like, I want it to be 80
Yeah.
year round. I got to go west. I think
Yeah.
I got to go to the west coast. But yeah, I mean, they all kind of blend together, man. We the building. What do you call it? The building stock, I guess. The crop of buildings we have are pretty cool. We So like anything I put up online, I don't know, anybody who's been on my page or whatever. Um, I'm not like a PD guy, like a private dwelling, private house. That's not my forte. I don't have much experience. I count on one hand the amount of times I've worked in private dwelling. I mean, well, I guess it's a little different. So like our version of a private dwelling would be like a 4-story brownstone. When I say a private dwelling,
I
I
was
mean
gonna
like
say
a
you guys have a
story
lot
house.
of brownstone type.
Yeah, I mean, but even that, that's kind of like closer to a tenement, a 4-story walk up brownstone. It's not a 2.5-story, 1.5-story peaked
Yeah.
roof house. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So that's where my experience with that is limited. Yeah, I could
Do you
count them on
guys
one hand.
do a lot of work in the frat houses or at the university?
We go there constantly. We don't have a lot of
Yeah.
work in them. I mean, little things, but they've modernized that. A lot of them are sprinkled. A lot of them are hooked into like a central station monitoring
Okay.
company. Stevens has their own police department, so they're always
Yeah.
out patrolling the neighborhood and all with that up there. But we're in the campus. We used to be in the campus a whole lot. Now we're in the campus somewhat.
Yeah.
Excuse me, somewhat
When
frequently.
August, September hits.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, but they've modernized things a lot. They went from like smoke detectors in certain areas to heat. We used to get like cooking alarms all the time. So
Okay.
like, all right, let's put a heat alarm heat detector instead of a smoke detector. So things like that. But yeah, they we're still there pretty routinely. Up in the campus. It's
I can see that. Bunch
we,
of
we
dumb
joke
college
it's
kids.
like a top five engineering school in the country, but they probably should institute like a culinary program. We joke about that all the time, and the kids laugh. They get a kick out of that. So, but yeah, it's good. It's nice. It's a nice area. They have a ton of, oh my god, they just put up 2 20-story buildings. So like we did a lot with that.
Oh
Familiarize
wow.
ourselves with that, where things are, and yeah, I mean you got how many tenants, pretty much how many
Yeah.
residents or kids stay in there. So while it's modern and it's got all the fire protection features, it's
Hmm.
still, it's always the smoke you got to be conscientious of. So like if something happens, we
Yeah.
still got to get up there and do a search and evacuate or keep them put. But it's the college Stevens is a very interesting place. There's a lot happening up there at all times.
Yeah. Definitely.
So
Um. So now, what got you into starting your social media posts, and do you have any aspirations of getting involved in some actual training? Like I've been trying to get you to
to
get out there a little bit more.
do,
You're a very
yeah,
modest and shy guy.
I don't I don't even remember what I did, why I started doing the social media. It's funny, I was always like an anti-social media guy. I think because like I've seen how like people used it for certain things.
Yeah.
But then I kind of was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I guess if I could put some stuff up, and then you kind of get to meet people. That's how you and I met, and I made so many good friends over the course of my couple years on. It I don't remember what caused me to. Probably boredom. Probably being a little bored with things. But like I said, me being as tech savvy as an 80-year-old man, and not too good with it, I was just saying, let me try this thing out. I do like photography and I like to write, so I guess that interested me. Um, so I just started taking a couple. I mean, I've always taken pictures, but I took some pictures. Yeah, this might be cool. I'll put this thing up, and I've always been fascinated by like architecture and things like
Okay.
that. I always thought that
Like
was
building
cool.
construction gets you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not,
You.
not so much like the is it a fire resistive or a ordinary? Not so much like that.
Hmm.
More so like the time frame of the buildings. I like the
Okay.
old brownstone and then the
The different. Yeah.
limestone, and then like the brickwork, the way
Yeah.
this brick was used during this time, and the arches, and the way that they actually like decorate the building. I guess. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess we all kind of get like we get robotic to where you have to study all this bullshit with it's a class 1 building, it's a class 3
Yeah.
building, it's a all that shit. But I don't know if guys know the stuff that I think is important, for building construction. Not so much just the
Well,
bullshit that they want you to read and study
and
and regurgitate.
and like you're saying, like if you look at the outside fixtures and you really know your neighborhood and that's not a facade, that's that house, or that's that building. It can tell you about the time frame that the building was built, which now that
Totally.
relates directly to how they were constructing buildings.
Yeah.
What were the void spaces, and this era of tenement had stairwells, and
Yep.
the different time frames had their mortar and
The
tendon
niche.
versus platform versus true dimensional lumber versus what we
Yeah.
have now.
Oh yeah, that's all like vital components, and you kind of you can call it whatever the fuck you want on the radio, but when it's burning, you better know
Yeah.
how it's built and how it's put together and where the fire is going to
Exactly.
go and how it's going to potentially like get away from you and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, I think that's something that you kind of every time you open the social media page, you see, oh yeah,
Hmm.
there's a building construction thing, which is good, but it's like I don't know if people are diving into like, all right, that's great that you have all this stuff, but how are we teaching the guys to understand what these things mean and how to open up a void and where the fire is going to move and how it's
Exactly.
framed out and where the
Hmm.
pipe framing, the pipe recesses are and things like that. And, again, back to the point we made before about when you have an opportunity to show the guys that stuff, as opposed to just
Yep.
talk about it. You can talk about, you can go over Vinny Dunn's book all the time, but until you get, if you get a vacant to go show these guys and like, all right, guys,
Yes.
listen, this is the pipe
100%.
chase on, this is where it terminates, where it's going to go up to the
100%.
If you could show guys that, and you see it, like the minute it happens,
Yeah.
you see the guys like, oh man, now I know what the hell they're talking about. They showed us that in the school, and they talked about this, and we've discussed this. But now that I see it, now I understand. Oh my God, yeah, I can see that. This cast iron pipe, once it gets hot, it's going to radiate up, and it's going to let the fire get up to all this wood behind the wall. Yeah, so it's like when you get to drive home those points, and then on top of that, then letting them actually start pulling it, and how much backbreaking work that could be to start hooking a room of wall ceiling and baseboard and cutting a roof and pushing down the ceilings and having a 3-foot cock loft and having expanded cuts, and it's a lot, man. But 100%. Doing it is like that's the complement to the discussion side of it. So yeah, I like all that stuff. But I've always been fascinated by the building features and the architecture. My uncle was like a master carpenter. He used to always, he was so precise with things, so artistic. It was unbelievable. He was very talented.
He's an artist, not a contractor.
That's right. That's exactly. No doubt, man. No doubt about it. It really was. It's a form of art, It's like that's what you're paying for. You're not paying them for, for all this stuff. You're paying them for their artwork,
Yeah.
Just like clothing, you see these shows. You're not paying them for that. It's their art, and they're displaying it. So you're paying for that.
Exactly.
Some people don't understand it, but whatever.
So now I'm going to ask you a question I've asked you 100,000 times. When are you going to get out there? Get out on a teaching platform?
Well, I do some teaching. I do it with the company. I do tech rescue stuff. I do that a couple times, several times a year. I don't know. I wouldn't mind going out to do it. I think the biggest reason why I don't like to do it is, first of all, I think, who the fuck am I, to be out there doing stuff, number one. Number two, I don't know. I don't think I deserve to be paid for something like that. I would help anybody if I can. But I also feel like my biggest thing is to where I get put on the spot for things. So if I, if I'm out and I'm doing something, then I would be
being asked to co-host a podcast.
Yeah, no, not that. That's my lack of time and time and availability.
Oh, I'm just saying that I put you on the spot all the time.
No, I know. No, put me on the spot in the sense of if I'm out, if I'm out in the field doing something, the guy's like, hey, could you show me this? Then I like to teach or whatever. But I don't know. I'm not a stand in front of the audience type of guy. I'm more of sitting in the seats type of guy. I like to be there. I just like to be in a different capacity. I don't know. I guess that's my.
Now, what's your favorite discipline? Tech rescue. What's your favorite discipline?
I'm a rope guy.
Yeah.
I'm a rope dope.
High angle, low angle.
A high angle. Yeah, okay. we do that. I work with a couple guys. We do the so for that UASI program, we kind of have a nucleus of guys who kind of run through the classes and pretty much bring the new kids up. So I'm one of those guys. And it's fun. We were doing it right in Newark, but they after 100 years of saying it, they finally got rid of the property, and now I think we're going to be doing it in Middlesex County Academy, from what I understand. So it's probably coming up in a couple weeks too. But I do that. I don't really do any fire teaching. I work.
Give them a plug. I mean,
Spec Rescue. They're based out of Virginia Beach. And they got a really, really good thing going there. And it's with a couple guys locally. One guy from Jersey City, a guy from Elizabeth, a couple guys throughout the departments around here.
Okay.
Newark. I forget who else, if I'm missing anybody. But it's a nice setup they got. They kind of they want it to be where they're bringing their curriculum and then giving it to the local guys to bring into the guys, that are going to be
kind of like a train the trainer,
more or less. Yeah, more or less. So it's good, right? I like the ropes. I mean, I like all the stuff, but I feel like for us in Hoboken, what we do most of the time is either vehicle extrication or ropes. That's our of the technical
Okay.
specialties. That's what we do the most of. We're not really doing trenches all the time. We got blacktop. I mean, yeah, this contractor's digging up gas pipes and stuff. But we're not dealing with like soil, and
I was
we're
gonna
not
say, do
out
you
in the.
guys have dirt?
Not really. I mean, we do in the
It's under
park,
the
but
asphalt and the
yeah,
concrete,
right.
right?
It's under 6 feet of asphalt and cobblestone, and yeah. So it's like, I mean, could you have a trench? Of course you could, but it's not. That's not our frontline thing. And
Yeah.
again, we're not going around chipping concrete all the time. Um, the shoring is important. That because anything in a precarious position, we may have to shore it up. Um, so we have like the alloys and stuff for that. Certain cities of that program, they have actual lumber trucks that they'll come in and kind of
Hmm.
we'll temporarily throw the shores, and then they're gonna frame out, and we're gonna build those to leave in
Okay.
place until they either repair or demo the building. Um, Confined space is fun. We run that, but that's not a common thing. I mean, we have a lot of areas that the potential is there, but we don't
Yeah.
we
Oh,
don't have to do
absolutely.
it very often. I mean, anything with a
Hmm.
with a manhole or an entryway. Once you kind of get in that area where it's like, all right, is there an oxygen issue to where there's a lack of it, or are we out of voice contact, or are we in a small area? All those things that check the boxes to be like a con space. So yeah, I mean that kind of goes hand in hand with rope because you're on rope. You're kind of on rope, you're on
Yeah.
air, and you're on communication. So that's kind of cool too. Um, what am I forgetting? Let me see. So you got collapse, you got trench, you got
High,
confined
low
space, you
angle.
got high angle, you got low angle. Um, that's kind of like the general nutshell of what we have on our rescue
Yeah.
apparatus. But like I said, yeah, we have vehicle extrication and ropes are kind of our thing. People washing windows, people stuck in in a blind elevator shaft, people going off the side of a building, or things along the line of that. So
Hmm.
that kind of happens a lot, and everybody drives like a lunatic here. They had to lower the speed limit, but they don't give a shit. And then
Yeah.
add in electric bikes and scooters and nannies and kids, and it's just it's a
Now, are you
disaster if you're
guys
driving.
are you guys seeing an uptick with lithium-ion batteries and the scooters, or?
Well, it's funny. We don't have a lot of work with them. We've had a few. We actually had something the other day, very small, fortunately. We got it as like a smell of smoke. The guy just got home,
Okay.
and it turned out to be like it was his leaf blower. He hasn't used it in 3 months, but the battery started to kind of like go. And it just, we're chasing this smell of like, this insulation. And we're like, all
Yeah.
right, check the breakers. One breaker's tripped. All right, we checked that. We're looking, nothing, checking the outlets, checking the light fixtures, checking hi-hats, pulling things down, no squatching, using the camera, nothing. And then we're like trying to like get fresh noses in. All right, well, it's in the back half of the apartment. Then we go out to the backyard, and it's like there's a chest with all types of shit. The one guy pulls out, he goes, look at this, it's burnt. So, but it's like, they had a wooden deck, they had all vinyl siding in the back. I said, if
It
this
would
thing
have
would have
taken
taken
off.
off, it would have, yeah, no doubt. So we've been lucky with that. We had a couple things in like restaurants to where they've a couple battery things, but yeah, we've been lucky. I think the luck that we've dealt with is because for the most part, people aren't, I guess, buying the aftermarket stuff, the things that aren't UL listed and
There's
rated and all that
some
stuff. They're
some good
buying the
money in your
brands.
neighborhood.
Yeah, it's a somewhat affluent city, and I think the people have the money to purchase the brand stuff versus the
Yeah,
the stuff that you're getting
the
on
knockoff.
online through right. But yeah, I mean that doesn't mean that that's not going to happen. So up until this point, I think we've been lucky. But I mean, all you got to do is just
Yeah,
look at the news across the river, man. They're getting jobs every each borough's getting a couple a day. It seems like, and
yeah,
they don't usually end too well.
yeah. It's scary. It's sad. It's
Yeah.
we had one on my job. We had a battery, and the woman had actually smelled something, felt it, and it was hot, and took it and put it in the garage. Thank God she did, because she didn't even get back into the kitchen and it
In a
exploded.
blow. Wow.
And if she had left it on the counter, it was like 30 inches, not even 30 inches away from the baby sitting in
Oh
a
my
high
god.
chair.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
So it would have been terrible.
It's scary, man. I mean,
And
listen, they're nothing
10
new.
minutes
It's all the
later,
stuff we.
they were getting ready to
Excuse
go
me.
out to dinner. So 10 minutes later, the house would have been rocking
Nobody
before
would have been
anybody
there.
even knew anything.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it's scary. But it, they're in everything we use.
Yep.
They've been around for a while. It's just that they're
Mm-hmm.
starting. Like I said, I think because of the, I know for us, we have just
Aftermarket.
nothing but like, right. That you have that, and then you have the delivery services and all. I think with COVID, people don't want to leave. They want to just have
Mm-hmm.
everything delivered and catered to them. And those guys are in the business of making money. They don't
Yeah.
give a shit how they have to do it. They got to have juice in their battery to be able to get them from point A to point B, and
Yeah.
then the
So
next point A to point B.
they're buying the cheaper knockoff battery, still using the name brand charger that's not made for it.
Yep, and they're
They're souping
overcharging it and charging
They're
it, and
souping up the
charging it.
scooter and the bike to go faster, to make the
Yep.
round trip
Yeah,
faster.
the faster they could get their food delivered, the faster they go pick up more food to deliver and
Yep.
make more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely it's interesting. We've dealt with a lot of that. And I mean, we always have like areas where it's like the guys are just like all huddled up, like waiting for. It's almost like they're waiting for a run, kind of. They're waiting for that food bell to ring. But it's not going away. I don't think that the battery issue is gonna go away. It's just gonna get worse and worse, man.
Yeah, I don't see it going anywhere. It is. It's gonna just get worse.
Yeah.
And with the amount of electric battery cars that you have on the road, I see it being a vehicle fire issue as well coming up.
Yeah.
Because you
no
look
doubt.
at like, what was it? The Chevy Volt. The replacement battery for the Chevy Volt is like $13,000.
Holy Christ!
So you figure somebody's gonna come up with a knockoff.
Yep, that's gonna be a lot more affordable, and they're gonna be like, "Well, sounds like a plan. If I could save that kind of money, I'm gonna do it." And nobody looks at it like a fireman, like, "Oh yeah, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if it goes on fire?"
I can't even say that because, in my view right now, I can see like 5 or 6 fire hazards.
Yeah.
And I'm a fireman and I'm a fire investigator and I know better.
Yeah. No, but still, it's like, if it's a matter of affordability, people are going to do what they have to do versus what they want to do, So it's I'd love to have the brand that's safer and it's all this other stuff. But if I can't afford it and I can afford this is what I'm going to do,
100%.
But nothing's getting cheaper. So people are gonna cut corners on what they have to.
Absolutely.
And then the day it blows, it's like, holy shit, man. Well,
Oops.
We didn't realize that, or maybe we did, but we took that risk because of circumstance. We needed
to.
Yeah, it's sad.
All right, so
Very
you want to
sad.
get into these Jersey questions?
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't even know about these. What are the Jersey questions?
Is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
Pork roll or Taylor ham. I don't eat either, but I forget what they call it up here. I don't. I'm like.
Are you a scrapple guy?
No, I'm a regular bacon guy.
All right.
What do they call it? We always call it Taylor ham up here. I never called it pork roll, but like I said.
All right, moving right along. I don't like that. Best pizza.
Oh, that's tough. Now you hit.
That's a tough one for you.
My heart, man. Yeah,
that's
we have
very
a lot of
tough
good
for
food.
you.
I'm also like a pizza nut. That's like one of my hobbies when I'm not buffing out. I'm chasing Portnoy's reviews. I actually read a lot of them. Let's see, best pizza around. Well, in Hoboken, I would say the best pizza is probably a place called Flour by Hoboken. Flour, as in like flour, flour dough.
Okay.
Their races, they're great. Good guys.
They're obviously not gluten free.
No, not with a name like Flour. They're really good. Another place, 10th Street Pizza, is really good. They got some pretty high. Both of them got really high ratings from Barstool, Napoli's, Basil's. We have a ton of good pizza in Hoboken. I like a place out in Caldwell, I think, Angeloni's. They got a really high rating. Ralph's and Nutley. There's a ton of good spots. I went to a place, I forget where it was, not that long ago. It was really good. But I got a few. I got to get up to the Connecticut region, man. The New Haven. Everybody.
That's what everybody's saying.
I know. I keep saying
from North Hudson.
Yeah.
Chief.
That's my man.
Chief Escuso was saying it. He's very excited about this episode.
He texted me.
He
I
is
know.
very
He's texting me. He's good people, man. Good dude.
one of the best.
Yeah, I gotta try to get up there. The problem is like I don't know about how they. I don't know if I think you just got to go and wait. I don't think you can make a reservation, so it's tough. Kind of commit to 3 hours. 2.5, 3 hours there, and 2.5, 3 hours back, without like guaranteeing that you're gonna get it. So I think that's what's always put me like I'll get to it when I get to it. But then I got so many great spots in New York, like John's of Bleecker is one of my favorites. They're unbelievable. I think they're probably right there at the top. They're incredible. A few Brooklyn spots I've yet to go to that I've heard good things about. But yeah, we're spoiled in this area, man. We have such good food. It's just like we take it for granted.
The water.
Yeah, right. That's what they say. That is what they say.
What is it? Thomas's English Muffins was in your city, right? At one point.
I think so. Thomas's English Muffins, Oreos. What else? Wonder Bread. There was a whole bunch of things that they.
And their nooks and crannies they attributed to the water, something in the water.
No, I've heard that for many years with the bread and with anything bread related. It has to do with the water, supposedly, and the rise and all this other stuff. Supposedly, I said I'm not a baker, so I wouldn't know. But I'll take their word for it.
Next question. Do you go to the beach or you go down the shore?
I go down the shore.
All right. Well, beach.
Yeah.
Beach of choice.
Since I'm a kid, we always went to Wildwood. I think that's like Wildwood Crest. I think that's the cleanest beach in Jersey.
Okay.
One of them, at least it used to be. You had that real long distance between the street and the till you hit water.
Yeah.
But like locally for like day trips, Point Pleasant, Belmar area, not too far, like an hour away.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I like that area. That's cool. Long Branch, a lot of those places. It's funny, man. Like growing up as a kid, these were rough areas. They weren't really the best to be. And and it's like now that they've just like everything else. I mean, kind of like same in Hoboken. It wasn't really a well-to-do place. It wasn't the place to be. And then now things have changed.
Yeah.
But down the shore, I feel like if you're on one side of the tracks, yeah, it's insane, man. But down the shore, I feel like it's like if you're on the water side of the tracks, it's really nice, and they boomed and they built up, and then you still get that element on the other side of the tracks in certain areas.
The wet side and the dry side.
Right. Yep. So, yeah, but it's crazy. I mean, Asbury, Long Branch, all those places are rough areas, and I'm sure they still they have these certain areas that are, but I would imagine there's a lot of places that are you can't touch if you're looking to purchase property down there, not unless you have a whole lot of money floating around.
Oh yeah, it's all big dollars now.
Yeah.
All right. Does Central Jersey really exist?
I don't know, man. I think I'm a North Jersey guy, but I guess I don't know what we're considered because North Jersey is really like Sussex County, right? So. Yeah, I've seen those maps to where they have like the cutouts of everything but north of like Union, I guess, is considered North Jersey, and everything south is Central until you get all the way down. Yeah, I don't know. I listen. I like a lot of. I think Jersey's such like an underestimated state because you just you don't realize how big it is. First of all, you don't realize how many towns and cities there are within it, and how much there is to do. And I think in the whole tri-state area, we always get overshadowed by like the Stanfords and the what's that real ritzy area of Connecticut? Not Hartford, I forget, but like one of the real ritzy areas of Connecticut, and obviously New York City. But Jersey's pretty good, man. Jersey's got a good thing going. Got a lot happening for a small geographic area when compared to other states. But we got a lot of shit happening.
Yeah, some of the best food in the world. Because you figure we're such a cultural melting pot. You literally have food from around the world.
Yes, it's such a small area.
Especially in the urban environments like Bergen, Hudson, Essex County. You got everything.
It's legit. It's coming from people who grew up in that environment and migrated here. So it's unbelievable. Yeah, we have a ton of food. We have
parks,
beaches,
boardwalks.
Yeah.
You're 2 hours into the Poconos or the Catskills for
Yep.
mountains. You,
Yep.
you, you know, you're growing up. I was probably halfway between New York City and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So depending on which way you went, the city was something different.
Right. Right. No, I know, man. It's definitely Jersey's cool. I love Jersey. I know everybody wants to get the hell out, especially now with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. But you know what? I still love it here, and I'm not in a race. I'm not
Yeah.
counting down time to leave. That's for sure. With everybody always kind of gets caught up in the moment of how much time you have left, how much time I have left. I'm like, enjoy the time you're at now, man, because you're gonna one
Yeah.
day look back and be like, I wish I was back at that time. I do it all the time.
Yep.
I wish I could go back to that time. I wish I could go back to that time. Everybody's like in a rush to like attain this time or whatever, and I'm like, nah.
Yep.
Enjoy where you're at
Well,
now
because
because you're gonna one day look back and wish you were there.
because
Yeah.
everything's right
Yep.
here. I can get
Yep.
everything right at the
It's
drop of a hat.
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of been, I guess, like I don't know, like ingrained in us to where we're always just looking for the next thing, or where are we going to go? Where do you see yourself? It's like, yeah, man. What about right now? What's like that commodity of time? It's as
Hmm.
precious as it gets, and you can't
Yeah.
get it back. And the
You
older
never
you
got it
get, the
back.
clearer and clearer it gets.
Yep.
It gets that you just got to kind of enjoy it, man.
Hmm.
It's cliche, but it's the truth. The time just flies.
Yeah.
It's insane. You know.
Absolutely. All right. Next question. Proudest achievement or accomplishment on the job?
Proudest achievement. I don't know, man. I don't know if I could attribute it to one thing. I would say just being a fireman is pretty cool. I'm really, really excited about that. I'm proud to do that. I'm proud in the sense to do that, but I don't like to tell people, like, unless I know them, that I'm a fireman, because I kind of feel like people just might, look at you a certain way, not in a bad way, not demeaning in any way, but I like to kind of keep that close to the vest, I guess. But I think just being a fireman is cool. That's an achievement in and of itself, just being able to say you're one of them.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
that's I don't know. That's what I would say. I
No,
don't,
honestly, that's probably very similar to my answer. Just getting here,
yeah,
just making it. Like
yeah. We
to me
all hit
being
the
a
lottery,
kid,
man.
yeah. To me growing up as a kid, like I couldn't wait to get here. It's
Yeah,
it was my job. Just walking in that first day of the job, getting my badge, putting my uniform on.
yeah.
That's the greatest thing in the world to me.
No,
And
it definitely is. It's and again, like you kind of we all could get caught up in the moment of whatever bullshit's happening at work or whatever's going
of
on.
course,
You get wrapped
absolutely.
up. It happens to the best of
Hmm.
us, and you got to kind of have that like that minute to just take the step back. All right, listen, man, it could be worse. I could be doing something I hate. I could
Yeah.
be out of work. I could be
Yep.
whatever. But
100%.
it's like we all hit the
100%.
lottery, man, and you got to kind of like remind the
Hmm.
guys that, and then you hope when you're in the dumps that they remind you, hey, man, it could be worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, we
Absolutely.
all hit the lottery. So yeah, being a firefighter, I think is pretty damn cool. That's an accomplishment in and of itself. It's contrary to the way it's being portrayed. I think, oh, it's for everybody. I think that's bullshit. It's not for everybody. It's
This
not.
isn't a
Maybe
participation trophy.
no, maybe the way that the things have become a little bit lucrative along the way, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's for everybody by any stretch of the imagination. You
Yep.
gotta be willing to like do a lot of things that everybody I don't think could take, and unfortunately we find that out the hard way now with certain people and places, but
Yeah.
it's not for everybody.
Hmm.
It's not. So
100%. All right. Last question.
okay.
What advice do you have for the fire service, past, present, future?
What advice? Well, I guess advice that I try to take is just to like never stop. Always be hungry in the sense of like if you think you have it all figured out, the job has a way of humbling you to remind you that you don't, and you don't know
Absolutely.
everything, and you never will. Um, I remember being told very early on in my career the day you think like you know it all, and the when you have it, whatever
Time to
all
go.
sorted out is the day you probably should hit your button for retirement because you become a liability at that point.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I would say the biggest advice would be, use your time wisely, enjoy it, but also don't waste it. Like, get out there, take the classes. The other thing we take for granted. I mean, again, we're talking about it kind of inadvertently now, but the social media, it could be a learning tool. I mean, I try to put things up that can help somebody. I know I pick things up all the time, but use the resources that you have available to us. We have a lot of younger kids getting on the job, not young kids, but a younger generation of
Yeah.
whatever, the 18 to 20-year-old kids now, that they're going to bring different specialties and skill sets and stuff, and they're going to be, more often than not, statistically, they're going to be more tech savvy than the guys in our age bracket and the guys
Yeah.
before that. But then they're going to probably be more than likely statistically less savvy with swinging a hammer, or banging a nail, or having a trade.
Absolutely.
So that's where I think it's contingent on us as the guys who've been around a little bit to bring those guys up what they lack, but then also be
100%.
open minded that we could learn a lot from these kids. I mean, I say it all the time when the guys laugh at me if I'm trying to do like a critique. If we get something and I want to put something, I have to grab the younger guys. Hey man, get this thing on the computer. It's all fucked up for me, and they laugh. So like
Help me out with
be
this
open minded.
PowerPoint.
I do it all the time, and they get a kick out of it every time, and that's part of the fun of it. But
Well, you don't have to tell them you need help. Tell them you want them to put together the PowerPoint to teach them, because by
That's true.
inputting the data and working with it, that's the key.
They'll,
It's
what
a
do you call it?
training
Yeah,
exercise.
They'll be right. They'll be empowered. They'll
Training.
make decisions and all that stuff. But yeah, the advice to the fire service, I would say, is like, don't give up on the guys who might be a little checked out or whatever. Buy back in, and if you can't buy back in, get the fuck out. The new guys, buy in from day one. Don't ever give up. Try to learn as much as you can. Don't get frustrated with wherever you work or whatever. I mean, I know around me, there's probably only a couple of cities that get the regular routine work all the time, and they're lucky enough to deal with that. Most of us, you have to kind of like, you deal with a lot of BS for the job that you do get, and it's not as frequent as you'd like. You don't want to see anybody's shit burning or whatever, but you just want to be there if it's going to. So take the experiences that you get and use them as learning tools. Don't be too proud to admit when you're wrong, because we're all wrong. And if you think you're going to go to a fire and everything's going to go like picture perfect, that's bullshit. It's never happened before. First time it happens is going to be the first time in history. And don't take yourself too seriously in that, like, oh yeah, well, I can't have a good time at work. That's another thing. I feel like guys think when when you get to a certain point, like, I can't have a good time, whatever. I'm like, that's bullshit, man. You should be having a good time every day you go to work.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be
like
contagious.
you said before, we hit the lottery.
We did, and why not enjoy it? Now, don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place when you have to be serious, or you have to maybe goof off a little less, but don't lose sight of like the fun and that unique bond that we have of being able to go to work, hang out with our buddies, go to crazy shit, and have a good time doing it. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Alan
that's I
Bernasini
think like the
used
best
to-
part about it.
Alan Bernasini from Phoenix used to say it the best. All I want is two things. Have all the fun you want. I want two things. When you're on duty, stay sober and celibate.
Yeah.
Everything else, you have fun.
As long as you get on that rig and do your job, man, I don't give a shit what you
Yeah.
do. That's how I look at it. And I said it, I openly said it to the guys. I'm like, listen, man, I could hire a maid to clean the house and all that stuff. I don't need somebody who's going to be like great at cleaning the house and great at checking the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Then when you get on the fire ground, it's like, deer in the headlights, and they can't put anything together. And
if the new guy's
there has
great
to
at
be
everything,
balance.
what do I bust his balls about?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. We got some good guys, man, that came on. I'm excited to have them. They invigorate you, they reinvigorate you. They kind of like I said, the guy that might be a little on the back nine or whatever, it kind of like gets you back into, so what you're saying about the teaching, like, you don't realize it when you get put on the spot, you kind of like, you're just doing it nonchalantly, like
Yeah.
passing those things along that you learned that were taught to you by the older guys.
Mhm.
Whereas when you're on a stage, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's not organic. It's just like, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just for me, I'm saying.
No, not at all. Well, again, it goes
maybe
back
in
to
time I'll
that
get better with
time.
it.
It goes back to that, like we were talking about before, that change in generation where the guys we learned from were tradesmen. They
Yeah.
had it here.
Yep.
They had
Yep.
it here. And now these young kids, they
They have it on
got
the
it.
phone. Yeah.
They got it here, so they got the information, but they don't. Hey, go get me a wrench. How many times has that happened to you where you ask a
Yeah.
young kid or a young guy, teens, early 20s, hey, go get me a monkey wrench? A what?
Yeah.
Where they come back
Right.
with a screwdriver and it's like
Yeah.
a
They
monkey
just they
wrench.
they may have never had to use that in real
They
life,
never had to.
or they just it's scary, man. But it's the
But you
reality.
tell them
So
to
you
put a
could do one or two
PowerPoint together
things.
and that shit's going to be
Oh, they'll
badass.
build your website in a half hour. Yeah.
It's going to be badass.
But again, it's on us to now recognize those whatever deficiencies, those
Hmm.
lack of skills, and bring them up. It's on us.
Absolutely.
Like I said, I got on as a kid. I'd like to think I became a man on the job, and that was from the senior guys passing those things along. So if the the margin of what we have to pass along now is a little bit wider than what it used to be, then so be it. Who cares?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You're only as weak as you're only as strong as your weakest link. So it's like if you're
Yeah.
not bringing these guys up to snuff in the common sense, basic skills, then it's on you. At some point, you got to take the responsibility.
100,
The kids
100.
don't know any better, but it's on you. Then if you don't fix the problem, then it's you're equally as fault as far as I'm concerned.
Couldn't agree more
So
with you. All right, brother. You got
yeah,
any
man.
shout outs or got anything else you want to throw out there? Anything in the
No, nothing
works?
really, man. Just thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on.
Keep an eye out on the social media stuff, and I use it as almost like my journal. Things that I'm going through in life, or things I'm going through at work, or whatever. I try to add some humor in. I have like a very sick, dry sense of humor, so I put some crazy shit up. I always put crazy shit up, but I try to put some like subliminal, funny things to get. We're all going through things in life, and I try to look at it as like, what, man, maybe that's a little outlet for somebody that hopefully they see something they can relate to it, or see
Yeah.
something and get a kick out of it, or a combination of things. And
I like the video the other night. You must have been you must have still been a captain and you're coming up through an intersection and you or your driver are
oh
laughing
yeah,
about something. And then
oh my god, yeah,
in the narrative said something about the ice cream man.
yeah, oh yeah, that was funny, man. I know. I was going through my phone and I texted my buddy and I said to him that I was like, "Fuck it, I'm putting it up." I just kept laughing about it. But yeah, it's like I said, those little things, man. You take for granted. You look back and you're like, fuck, what I would do to be on that rig or be in the house. It's it's how it goes, and it's you don't realize it's. I forget. I've heard this before, but it's like you don't realize like your best days until they're behind you. And it's sad in some ways, but it's like more of a testament to that. Like, live in the now, man. Enjoy the time today. Don't be so worried about what am I going to do down the road? How long till I retire? Where do I want to move to? What do I want to be next? Like, fuck all that. Enjoy the time now. You're in the best spot. I tell like a couple of young guys, I can't wait till I have 20 years. I'm like, why? You're going to be 20 years older. So you want to be 45 instead of 25, or you want to be 50 instead of 30? Like, enjoy where you're at now, man. You got everything going well for you. Don't rush time. There's going to get to a point where you're going to wish you could go backwards or freeze time, and that hasn't worked out for anybody in the past. So
exactly.
But it's so it's so cliche, but it really is true.
Oh, absolutely.
All
right, brother.
I like to think I'm halfway into my career, but I still consider myself a new kid, so I'm in no rush. I hope I have many years ahead of me.
I'm the same way. I don't consider myself a young guy anymore, but I don't consider myself an old dog. I consider myself a middle of the range.
Well, it's funny. I was just talking with my close buddies about this. Like, he's got his 24th, and he's like, I just don't feel like I look like those older guys do. I said, just kind of what we talked about. It's a generational thing. Times have changed. I think we're a little bit more like we take care of ourselves a little bit better in some ways. We work out. We might eat a little bit better. Maybe we don't drink 5 nights a week and shit like that. But it's evolution of things. But he's like, I don't feel like an older guy that's like not far away from retirement. I'm like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's evolution. It's just
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I'd like to think I'm halfway through my career.
Yeah.
Maybe, hopefully less. Hopefully less. But yeah.
Well, on paper.
No, thank you for having me, man. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for coming.
Exactly.
Thank you for coming on, man. I
It was great. It
appreciate it.
definitely
We
went
got to get
fast.
together. See, I told you.
Yes.
Once we
No,
start
definitely.
talking, it's just
It went very
bullshit.
fast.
And I mean,
Just
and
BS.
and afterwards, you're gonna think of like, oh, I should have brought this up, or because I'm already thinking of things that like I should have asked you
always,
about.
right?
I should have asked you about, or whatever.
It's funny.
And then I'm like, and then the next day I'm like,
Next
oh
time,
man,
we'll jump
I gotta
on
try
something.
I gotta try and get a episode 2.
Yeah. That's funny. No, it was good. It was great. Thank you again. Thanks for having me. The pictures were cool, man. Really good pictures.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Absolutely. All right, brother. I'm gonna bump you back out to the backstage area, say goodnight to everybody, and then we'll say our goodbyes afterwards.
Okay.
All right, everybody. That's run number 13 with Battalion Chief Joe Grossi. Again, if you want to check him out on Instagram, that's joe.grossi Jr. on Instagram. Check him out. Next week, we have Mike Nasty from Tip of the Spear Leadership Podcast. Join us then. Until then, stay safe, everybody.